The tug of war in Albany. Eric Adams wants an extension of mayoral control of the schools, but he's got some powerful opponents. The Point starts right now. Michael Mulgrew is head of the powerful teachers union. He's lobbying Albany lawmakers to chip away at the mayor's absolute control of city schools. Now, while I really wanted to talk about mayoral control, first I'd like to talk about something that happened this past week, which was the city decided to go remote, and it was a disaster for teachers, for students, for everyone. What was your take on what happened?
It was really frustrating, and we were all very angry Tuesday morning when it happened, especially since we had worked with the Department of Education to test the system in October. But what we didn't know is they didn't stress test it. So like everyone logging on at the same time. And that's what happened on Tuesday morning. So thankfully, the teachers and the parents stood in there, and they fixed the system, and over 900,000 people logged on, but it still should not have happened. It really just shouldn't have happened.
So here's the question. So the chancellor raised the possibility that the next time they do this stress test, they do it under real conditions at home, so that maybe they would have to do it, say, on a Saturday morning or a weekend, so that people are actually at home and can test logging in. Is that a good idea, a bad idea? Would you support that?
I would support whatever we need to do to make sure it doesn't fail when we need it. We could do it from what we know from our experts. They said you can do it. It doesn't matter if they're home or in the school, but everyone has to do it at the same time. So you would do it in October, right? So that's when the classes, when you make sure all the students have the right equipment, and you have a lesson on how to log in and all the rest of it, and all that's done. And then you say at 10:30 on Tuesday, everyone log in.
So it has to be the exact time, system-wide, all 900,000 students, all the teachers.
You want a true stress test? Yes. Even though that's not exactly the same time, but it's like an hour in between. But it was only the authentication, the double authentication, which we need for security purposes, that caused the system not to work.
So can this be corrected?
Yes.
Or what did IBM do wrong? We don't know.
You know, they're telling us that they asked IBM to add more capacity the day before, but I'm not involved with that. That's the Department of Ed. I know that we need capacity for 1.1 million people to log on within a half hour. So it's not like it's an unknown number. We know between all the extra personnel, administrators and teachers and students, 1.1 million covers it. So, and you can have that capacity. I mean, you know, it's just you turn it up and you open up your bandwidth.
Okay, so listen to IBM, tune up your bandwidth.
And the DOE.
And the DOE. So look, let's turn to the hottest topic in Albany right now, which is whether there should be an extension of mayoral control, and if so, for how long. Your position on it?
We don't want to scrap the idea of mayoral control, but one of the things I did the first week of lobbying was to show Albany the other versions of mayoral control that are in different parts of the country.
What are they?
Cleveland and Boston and New Haven. They have systems where the mayor chooses whatever it is. It's a board, or for us it would be the PEP panel, but they can only choose from candidates that are picked by a committee who they do not have control over.
So basically, you want people who are going to be making decisions who are not beholden to the mayor of the city of New York. Is that my translation?
That is exactly it. And they have fixed terms, so the mayor can't. Every mayor has basically gotten rid of people who didn't do what they were told. And every mayor has made a mistake, because there is no check and balance. So we have 20 years of this. So let's try a different version of it, because every mayor has made a major mistake.
So let's ask this question. It's been in power now for 20 years. Has it been a good thing, a bad thing? Was it a good idea to get rid of the 32 local school boards plus the overall Board of Education? Or do you think some form of that should be brought back?
It was a good thing to get rid of the 32 school boards and the Board of Education, because they have become too politicized. They had too much power. There was a lot of corruption in them. So nobody wants to go back to that. But it doesn't mean that you can't continue to change and evolve into a better place. What we're saying is that under mayoral control, so like we created pre-K. right? Would a board, an independent board, have tried to stop a mayor from creating universal pre-K? No. Would a independent board try to have stopped this chancellor from doing the science of reading? The answer is no. They would have fully supported it. But they would have stopped a mayor from cutting the schools when they had been given record amount of money from Albany. They would have told the mayor, you can't do that. You cannot, the term is called supplanting. You cannot supplant, take education money and put it in your reserves and for your general budget.
But see, here was the question, I think, this year, and maybe last year as well, especially with the migrant crisis. The mayor was arguing, I guess, some people would say improperly, but the mayor was arguing that the cost of the migrants would force him to cut the budget, and he did do cuts on a lot of city services, police, fire, sanitation, and education. And what you're saying is, even if there's a budget crunch, you shouldn't shortchange the schools.
Correct. Because the mayor would have to prove to people that even though he had his expense over here, that the city was in a financial crisis, which it is not, because you can't have $8 billion in reserves, which he has right now, and you cannot, just this year alone, his operating budget will finish with over a $4 billion surplus, even though he has paid for all of the migrant crisis.
But we don't also have out-year gaps, though, let's be honest.
Listen, the year we're in right now was almost a $5 billion deficit 4 years ago. It's going to finish at a plus $4 billion. So that's a $9 billion difference. Somebody should see who's counting those numbers.
So here's the question. So basically right now, last time when they did mayoral control, when they only gave him a 2-year extension, they made him have more parents on the central PEP, on the educational panel. You say that wasn't enough.
It's not more. It's they have to be independent. So they have to be able to make their own choice without any fear of repercussions of being thrown off the panel. See, that's what it comes down to.
So who should appoint them? Should they be elected? Should people?
So that's really where the debate should be, right? So how do we set up a committee or a group that says, here, you do the vetting process, and you create a pool, and then the mayor chooses from that pool. So we know that that's pretty common in most mayoral control in different cities. And they do it in different ways. Some of them do it through alders. But you don't want the
mayor to pick.
The mayor can pick from the pool that's already approved by a panel he doesn't have control over.
Aha. But still, you want to make sure that even if he picks from the pool, he can't fire him.
Exactly. Fixed terms.
How do you do that?
Fixed terms.
Will the legislature go along with that?
That's really the conversation. And when I testified at the hearing on education 2 weeks ago, I believe, this is what I said to them. Here, these are the different models. And so you should look at these and stop arguing that if there's any change, it's not mayoral control, because that's just not true.
But you're saying, though, that this isn't personal. This isn't directed at Eric Adams or anybody else. I mean, you would have done it if it was Mike Bloomberg or if it was Bill de Blasio. Well, let's not go there.
I'm on the UFT is on the record as long as I've been president. We've been against it for Mike Bloomberg. We're against it for Bill de Blasio. And we're against it for Eric Adams. And look, we would support what Eric did for the science of reading is a really good thing, supporting his chancellor to do that. We're fine with that. And I know that we would have supported that and also pushed whatever board or panel was in place to say, this is a good thing. I don't think it's a heavy lift. I think people make too much out of complete and utter control. And whenever we see that it really doesn't work out.
Let me ask you this, 2 years or 4 years? So if you got the changes you wanted, would you want 2 years or 4 years?
I'm actually at the point where I think we should be open to looking at every 2 years what's working and not working for a period of time, because this ridiculousness, 6 years, this one got 6, so I deserve it. No, what's working, what's not. So we're now all waiting for the state education department's report. Everybody in Albany has told me we don't want to discuss this till we see the report from the state education department.
Okay, and we're going to have to leave it right there for now. But our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York.